we are really heading into our countdown in 2 weeks. We have a really big event coming up, our Women's Summit, August 21st to 23rd. You're on the front, you're on our Sunday sit down, and we're going to use a little bit of tonight to talk about that. But Fennell and I were just saying that we were going to talk about what's going on today. I said, we've been so busy. I said to her, what's going on? She goes, that's for regular people.
I said,
That's for regular people to worry about.
regular people, we have no idea what's going on today because
We don't
I
know
have
what's
not
going
had the
on today.
TV on today, so we have no idea what's going on. So
Yeah.
we're like regular people
I want to
today.
show everybody my donkey. I see my donkey, everybody. David, this is my.
Looks great.
Isn't it cool? My donkey. Fennell gave me the donkey, and we love Donkey. So Donkey's going to talk today because Donkey's our alter ego that he gets to say the things that we don't really always like to say. So we're going to let Donkey have some time tonight too. So when we're talking about this, you're just cracking me up, and you're like, the Republicans are lucky. Let's talk about why those motherfuckers are somehow lucky. What's on your mind about that?
So I'll tell you two things before I say that. So welcome to David Phelps,
Yeah.
and people should know that he is the new chair of the Accomack County Democratic Party. So
Is he really?
yes, he's the new county chair. So that's very
Wow.
exciting. And you should also know that I gave Paula, his wife, she has a donkey too, so she can say what she wants.
That's good. When you have the donkey, you can do a lot.
But here's what we were talking about in terms of luck. And hi, everyone. We're so glad that you're here.
Excuse me.
We were, bless you. We were saying the Republicans were lucky that they had so few women running for Senate this year. And that is because they have
Because they're
Murkowski.
misogynist. What'd you say?
Well, Murkowski in Alaska.
Yes.
And then they have Susan Collins in Maine, who knew that she had to not vote for Todd Blanche.
Oh.
And the reason that I bring that up is because the Epstein files really are powerful in terms of people understanding. It's simple, it's easy. You don't have to go figuring out and using a lot of brain power to know how wrong what's happened to these women and how nothing is happening in this country about it. And the reason that I say that is because we only look to Susan Collins and Murkowski, but we don't have to just look at them. We should be looking at West Virginia. Shelley Moore Capito, West Virginia, is running for her seat in the Senate. Cindy Hyde Smith in Mississippi, and she's not doing well at all.
No kidding.
And then there's Darlene Graham in South Carolina for Lindsey Graham's seat. And what I am saying is, as I always say, every seat should be up for grabs.
Yeah.
And if we could get women to really understand what has happened with the Epstein files, what they have all voted for as it relates to the SAVE Act, all of these things, women's reproductive rights, if we can really frame that argument so that women understood that this was their opportunity to show their power. And frankly, you don't have to be a Democrat or Republican or independent. You just need to be a woman and want to protect your rights. And we can tell that story in a way that gives women the power and the confidence to go in and vote for women, their daughters, their nieces, really understanding their grandparents, their grandmothers. They have a lot to stand for. And I just think that women, we have an opportunity. It's not too late for us to stand up.
And when you say it's not too late, and I'm wondering what other people are, in my mind, is that since Roe fell and before, we always thought, okay, that it was women that could make this difference, right? And it's true. And maybe now with the exposure of the Epstein files and that they talked about it and then they wouldn't really release it. And I liked your post today when you're saying, hey, if you can release this diary of Dr. Fauci and you can release this diary of this woman, Ashley, she's one of the Epstein files people, victims, then we can release the Epstein files. And I think that contrast is showing that, not just a double standard, but we have to point out constantly, and with Todd Blanche, especially the corruption. And for me, and I think other people I don't know how everybody else in this room feels, but Todd Blanche to me was really the last boot that dropped. That's the most dangerous boot to date. And the one that really took me back. When immunity happened with Supreme Court, I felt the same horrible dread that I thought to myself, this is such a game changer because we know what that meant. Cops can get us. People could break in our homes. ICE can kill us, and they have immunity. And so does Donald Trump. So that was dangerous. Now, the other piece of the corruption piece is Todd Blanche. And if you know Todd Blanche, remember he met with Ghislaine in jail. He did something very unprofessional. He met without any other person to document it. So you don't even know what they talked about. And it was about the Epstein file. So I think you're absolutely right to see that
So
connection.
So here's what I think, and, we always talk about,
Right.
what we're gonna talk about when we talk about the master classes is the
Well, the
power of the
master class
unexpected
is what? What is
sh
that?
for the summit, but I'll come back to that.
I
But
know. Okay.
this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
So, the power of the unexpected. This is you and I just got finished talking about the fact that we had not watched any news today,
'Cause
and
we're
we have
busy. Right.
because we're busy, and we have no idea what's going on, right? We have no idea.
It could have been invasion of the Russians, and
It
I would have been working on the summit.
we have
Yeah.
no idea. But
Yeah.
my point is, there is 60% of women in this country who have no idea either. So
Yes.
this is an opportunity for an Emmett Till moment, for people to understand what actually happened. And we haven't really seen or heard what happened
Right.
to these young women. So it's just like when we
Right.
have gun violence, we never show it when it happens to
Right.
children. When we think about in our heads the fact that I never will ever forget this, with one of the last mass shootings, that the parents had to identify the children, one of their daughters, by their shoes because the bodies were so blown apart, right? And this is the same thing about these Epstein files and what these young girls went through. They weren't women, they were girls. And we had people try to say, oh, well, they were 14 or they was no, no, no. People need to hear the story. They need to see it so they viscerally experience
Yes.
it and then hear why Shelley Moore Capito shouldn't be a senator. Then hear why Cindy Hyde Smith shouldn't be a senator. Hear why Darlene Graham shouldn't be a senator. If we tell these stories vividly in a way that people understand it and you can't run away from it, it is just like Kentucky, who is a red state, who has a blue governor, and they talked about abortion, they
Right.
talked about rape, they talked about it in ways that people could understand what it felt like for them. And that's what we need to do for these three senators to get them out.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
saying.
I that one going back to that 13-year-old, that the allegation that's been really covered up, and somebody has been suing to release that part of it. And I think that when we see Todd Blanche, it all is all connected all the way back to the Epstein files, but even greater than that, in the sense of justice. And I really talk about in democracy, what we do know is that you cannot have democracy without having a good, solid justice system, right? Because we know that in the sense of crooks and frauds and all that, that it's so important to have that neutral justice system. And now we have a person at the top that is the most corrupted and that actually is like a mob boss at the top. And it just makes me think the next year and a half, the people that thought he was okay. And the Cassidy, I mean, I hope he goes to HELL. I mean, I was left him a message and I was just like, you lack courage. You lack so much that your legacy, like Lindsey Graham, is going to be not just in the toilet, but you're going to go down in history as one of the worst. And we know it. We may not be here to see it and read it, but these people are going to be documented as the worst people that went along with Hitler early on. That's your name. That's your legacy, folks. You want to be with that great. That's where you're going. So on our part, I'm totally down. We got to expose this and we got to talk about it. And like I said, because I get a little down about saying, why couldn't people see this before? And you think, yeah, the media now is not really reporting as it should, and they're just caught up with reporting communism and reporting Democrats in disarray. I mean, they love to follow that story. They're not following the corruption story very well.
So here's the good news. Here's the good
Okay,
news. Here's the
okay.
good news. Here's the good
Let me
news.
crack my peach drink and then tell me
Crack your peach
it's
drink because
non-alcoholic. It's
here's the
non-alcoholic.
good news.
Yeah,
So see how today we don't know nothing about nothing?
we know nothing about nothing,
We don't
sister.
know nothing about nothing.
We're just a bunch of dummies.
But 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 the point is that we have the ability through our means of communication because
Right,
these people who are doing some of these votes are not strangers. And so it really is about using our communication the way that we can communicate to talk to people and to get them up, which is why going to the doors will be so important. And there will be people who will choose lanes. Some people will do, Republicans, they will talk to those people and they will try to get them out to vote, but they will be able to share information with them, listen and share. There
right.
will be folks who don't vote. They're voters who are, they don't vote all the time. We'll be able to talk to them. So this is why this election is so important. We are the underdogs. frankly, when
Right.
it comes to
Okay.
we're the underdogs, but that's okay
That's
because
okay.
that's what this is all about because the underdogs are typically the ones who have the advantage because they don't see us coming. And if we can pull ourselves together, if we can strategize, if we can stick to a plan, we can win. Now I do wanna go back and say this about Cassidy
Okay.
because this shouldn't be a surprise because I will
Right.
never, ever, ever forget when we were talking about maternal, death,
Oh, right.
for
Mhm.
women, and he said this is what he said on camera, out in public, that if you took out Black women, the maternal death rate would be lower. So you see what I'm saying here?
Uh-huh.
So you can't hide who he is. He's just a terrible, terrible person who got a little bit of light because he was seen as maybe to do something right only because he got burned. And at the end of the day, he still ended up being a coward. You see?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Easy. That's easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
So then when we want to just talk about the current stuff, and I do think today, especially when we look at some of the votes that's going on, what went on with the Todd Blanche thing and the fallout from that, I think, that's very much been in the news. I also want to point people to the market, the economy. We had the worst jobs report out, and you saw that, and then blaming it on again somebody else again. Him saying Trump said that everybody hates Republicans and people like him because he doesn't want to accept the reality. The other thing that we've ran out of ammunition. We've run out of freaking stuff to protect ourselves. And I was thinking to myself, we talk about being a dummy. Okay, we're supposed to be this biggest, strongest country. We just told the whole world that we don't have any missiles, don't have any bombs. And I'm thinking, does anybody know that we have our pants down and we're running for cover? I mean, China, anybody, we don't have a way to protect ourselves, everybody. And they're broadcasting it. Now, remember Republicans broadcast that the border was open? They did it on purpose so people would invade our border. People may forget, but they said every day, hey, the border's open. That's why people ran to the border. Now they're telling people we're basically don't have protection. And I am thinking to myself, holy shit, sticky, we're in deep doo doo. And so you have these elements with the midterms. Democrats have everything in their lane. And so what the hell? Really, we
Yeah.
do. We
Yeah.
have good candidates too, like in Virginia at our women's summit stuff. Oh my God. I mean, so with all that said, we have it there. So what's the problem?
Execution.
Right?
Execution, but this is what I think, and I don't know. I'm gonna be, as optimistic as I can be. I feel like
Okay.
I've had some rest during the primaries, and
Okay.
I'm gonna get myself together in the next couple of weeks to do the things that hopefully that we strategize to say that we should
Right.
be doing. Um, we can win this. One of the things that I thought was so powerful, was the Friday Power Lunch, and, it was Maya who I was so energized by. Honestly, it made me emotional to think about the fact
Right.
that this one young woman read an article that moved her to think, "Oh my goodness, what can happen?" We've all been worried about elections
Right.
and what's gonna happen in the election. What are they gonna do? What things
Right.
can they do? She reads this article, and this young woman decides to take it upon herself that she's gonna make sure that Virginia is paying attention to what election,
Right.
shenanigans can happen. And she puts together this she meets with someone and with Lindley from Real Ground Game. They put
Right.
documents together. She's going all through Virginia. Now she's got all these people, and she's going to be going to other states that are Democratic states to make
Right.
sure that they are at least paying attention. And this is the really interesting part that I thought was so powerful. The fact that she keeps saying, "You don't wait for something to happen and then decide what you're gonna do about it."
Right.
You look at that's what strategy is. You
That's what
look
we
out and
talk
say,
about all the
"What is the
time,
most
right? Yeah.
impossible thing that can happen?"
Right.
And you
Right.
plan for it. That's what
Right.
you do. You gotta think big, and we've never had imaginations big enough to imagine what can happen. And she's making sure that our legislators are thinking about what is the worst thing that can happen, and then you plan for it.
Well, and I love that. So when we had the Friday Power Lunch and we talked about, I love people getting ahead of it. I actually asked one of the delegates about if this would happen, and it's funny how everybody has a different sense of emergency or possibilities, and it didn't feel like that special session to call people together to look at all the holes and in Virginia and other states, at least in Virginia, uh, unless I'm going to ask them in some other places, I just don't see this happening because it didn't feel like people were taking it. I don't know if the word was serious or what the right word is, right? So I don't know. I always get hopeful. I think it doesn't matter. We just do it. We just do it. We just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
My thought. Right.
well, I do know that when I have the TV on and the radio on and the newspaper and my phone and all
Right.
that stuff, reading the news, that there is a group
Right.
that is thinking about this. So I feel optimistic about that. And I also feel I was reading a poll that said that most people, who do you trust the most
Right.
to make sure that your election is fair and free? And they trust their local people.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So they trust the local people who are there every single day. So we have to go with that because we have to deliver
Right.
optimism to people in order for them to think that there's a reason for them to vote. And so I go with that, and we do what Maya is doing to make sure that our legislatures here in Virginia and elsewhere are paying attention to what needs to be paid attention to, because
Right.
everybody's got a lane.
Well, I'm wondering too, like when the people in the room are thinking about this, has anybody heard? I mean, after the election and that when they sent the DOJ in, we know that was sort of like what I call like one of those tests where, when aliens come in to see if how we live to see what our weak points are. So I'm wondering what we learned from it. And like you said, what I love that they responded this way and the grassroots just took it upon themselves. And I think that's how we have to think going
Yeah.
forward. We
Yeah.
really,
So 2 things. Howard, that we talked to
yes.
last week about Dr.
Yes. Oh,
Fauci.
yeah, Howard, yes.
I met him, in
Oh,
Newport News, last week on Thursday,
I didn't know
and
that. Tell me about
Kent
that.
I know, well, it was amazing, but I wanna tell you that Kent has joined, and I know that you'll
Oh,
wanna talk
Kent.
about the summit and tell Kent who's coming.
Well, I would. I can't. I gotta say, Kent, thank you very much because of you, we got in connection with Andrea Chalupa, the author of the new book, The Reasonable Guide for Unreasonable Women. Fits us perfectly. And she's coming to the summit. And I don't know, Kent, are you coming to the summit? What do you think? That's what I want to know if he's coming to the summit, right? That
I
would
he
be
said he says, "I heard."
you did? How did you hear? I wonder what happened. So let's talk a little bit, I wanna show, my screen if I can. I'm gonna see. I've never tried to show my screen.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let's see what happens, right? Uh, okay. Let's see what happens. Hey, could you see it, everybody? There
Oh,
she
wow.
is, right? And let's see if I can show it real nice with the present at the full screen. Oh, there it is. Could everybody see that? There she is, and there is, Andre. Could people look and tell me in the chat, can you see my screen? Can somebody gives a thumb up or a heart? Can you see my screen okay? Anybody?
Uh-oh.
What? What's the matter?
Nobody's seeing oh, yes, yes, Bree says she can see it, and hi, Bree, we're glad that you're
Hey,
here.
Bree. Right. Okay, great. So I want to show people, well, when we talked about some of the stuff we've been working on, what we do believe and what's great about Andrea is that she fits our bill because we care about our country and we really understand this is about authoritarianism and we see in Russian about oligarchy and power. And so 10 years we started getting together because convening is one way to beat back this idea of oligarchy. We have to stay together. So we've been doing this for 10 years, getting together. And so we have our biggest Big Ten, or it's our Big Ten anniversary. We have a great weekend. It's August 21st to 23rd in Tysons, Virginia. And let me just say, everybody, we have people coming across the country, not just Virginia, but everywhere, because we have Robert Hubble, Rachel Bidikofer, Michelle Hornish. We have at night. We're going to have a nighttime salon, a PJ party. We will have a big talk starting at 8 and we will just go with Andrea Chalupa, and we're going to invite unreasonable women. If you're unreasonable, join us. We
Yeah.
have people. I'll show you. Sheba Williams is coming, founder of No Left Turns. She's awesome. Don't you love Sheba?
So I was just gonna tell you that Sheba was at the event that I was at on
No
Thursday.
kidding.
So it was, about the voting rights, amendment. It was a celebration, the 61st anniversary of the voting rights, and it was in Newport News, and it was done by the NAACP, and it was just an awesome event, and
That is great.
I'll also tell you that they had folks who were there. So Deborah Wharton and Dave Felt will really appreciate this because we think that there's a real opportunity in our communities to talk to felons who have, done their time.
Right,
They're here. Well, 66,000 of them have now. They're free and ready to vote. We have that list. That was one of the bills that Governor Spanberger signed last week. I think it was on Thursday that she signed that bill. 66 signed it. 66,000 people are now available to vote. So it was an awesome event. Sheba is amazing. She talks about her own story. They asked previous felons to stand up who now have their right to vote. It was amazing. They even had Kimba. And for those of you who remember, she was a young woman in Virginia who had a boyfriend because of mandatory sentences. She was given
right.
like 26 years. And she was there and talking about the importance and what it meant to have her voting rights back. So it was an amazing event, and so keep on going talking about the summit because
I know, I
Sheba will
know.
be there.
I just wanna say I'm going through while people are watching and listening, but this is, just our candidate stage on Friday. We're gonna have, Beth Macy, Elaine Luria is coming up from Virginia Beach, and that's big news for us, having her Friday night taking the stage with, Tom Perriella, Beth Macy, Joy Powers, I love Joy, and Sue Haas will be there. James Walkinshaw is coming on Sunday. He'll be at the Badass, and then Jennifer McClellan's gonna open up our Freedom Voting March on Saturday, which will be awesome. Miss Margaret is coming. I love Miss Margaret and CJ from Resisterhood and Terry Nicoletti coming down from New York is going to do a session with you, which will be awesome. Rachel Bidikofer, right? Talk about
That's
the
right.
master class
So
with
so
her.
so so
Yeah,
yes, so Rachel Bedicofer is going to be doing one of the master classes, and this one is the power of the unexpected.
right,
And this is so important because we have to use every single tool in our toolbox for this election in 2026, which will
right.
require us to think differently. And Rachel is really going to talk about how she sees patterns and how we should see those patterns, and how when we do that, we have the opportunity to act before anybody else does.
I
And
love
that's
that.
going to be so important
Yes.
in the environment that we're in right now.
And I love those because then we'll go into the think tanks on Sunday. But I'm going to go through some of the speakers, and Leah Greenberg is coming on Saturday, and really is going to open up about what's the plan. And I'm just excited, and we'll have a lot of indivisibles there. What I love about what we do, it's not just speaker and speaker; it's a lot of art. It's a lot of stuff in the gratitude garden where you can get a massage, where you can do yoga. We have a craftivism garden. Dory, who's been with us since we started in 2017, a poet laureate, but now she is also been working around banned books. She's an educator, just got her PhD, and I'm so grateful for her friendship over the years. And she'll be there Sunday. There's Beth Macy, author of Paper Girl, running for Congress. What can we say about Jennifer McClellan, right? Like, awesome. She'll be there Saturday morning, and I want her to talk about voting rights.
Yeah, I think that will be amazing for her to talk about voting rights. We're also gonna have Gayleen, and she can talk about voting rights too. And Deborah Wharton.
Gayleen, people may not know who that is. Gayleen, I don't have, she is the down by you. Gayleen's an
Oh,
amazing
sorry.
person. Yeah, tell us about
So
Gayleen.
Gayleen wears 2 hats.
That's
She
right.
wears hats as the Democratic Party. She's a vice chair for the Democratic Party of Virginia, and she's
Right.
also the political action chair of the state of Virginia for the NAACP. So it depends
She's a
on what.
badass. She's a
Yeah,
badass.
it
And
depends on
when
what.
she came in the Capitol Square, Capitol One a couple years ago, and I didn't really know her really well, she came out with that pussy hat on, that pink pussy hat. And I was like, "What the hell?" And she cracked me up. I said, "This woman is a badass." And speaking of badasses, Michael Fanone is going to be in a panel with Denver Riggleman and me, and I'm just thrilled to death about this because this January 6th, when we talk about corruption and democracy under pressure, I think we can't let people forget the accountability we lost around this disaster in our country, one of the worst attacks we've ever seen, besides, I think, 1812 in the Capitol. We need to not stop talking about this. And then Denver Riggleman is so good at really understanding the intelligence behind this and what we should really be paying attention to. So I'm super excited about that.
So before you
Go ahead.
go
Mhm.
on, I wanna say 2 things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump back to Deborah Warden and say, Deborah, I do believe that we're gonna be able to get a list of those, returning voters, those the people who have paid their debts to society. I know they hate
Oh,
that
the
language, but
felon list,
yeah,
the
the
sheep, yeah.
66,000,
Awesome.
because I heard the NAACP talk about it and say, "These are the doors we need to knock." So I don't know for sure, but I know that we'll have some idea about where we should be going and knocking and talking.
Okay, so
So
I think
we'll
this
follow
is
up on that.
that's really exciting, Deborah. I can't see the chat, so I appreciate you looking at
It's
that.
okay.
Because I think when we talked about this a couple months ago in the Freedom Summer, you went summer before the Black Rights Movement, so we talked about voting and this thing that happened in Virginia with Abigail Spanberger signing that. What a great opportunity. It's just so amazing that we have then a concerted list of voters we can really go and get to be civically engaged, and that's just amazing. I just love that.
So I wanna say this is why, having Sheba,
Yes, Sheba.
Williams come
Mhm.
and talk about it because she's so powerful when she talks about it, when she
Right.
tells the stories of her life and her
Yes.
family. But I have to tell you this really quick story about when Sheba and when
Well,
Kimba
could
were.
I just get through to Sheba and then
Sure,
we're
sure,
gonna
sure.
go.
Go ahead.
So just wait a second. So I have, Gwen Levy coming and just for some musical because I wanna get to Sheba, because
Okay.
Krista Jones is coming and she'll be moderating, but talk about a amazing woman that I've been so lucky to get to know in this space, and she was a Friday Power Lunch, moderator too, and she's been at the summit. She's gonna be doing a panel about breaking the table and really showing about how DEI impacts everybody. So I'm gonna go back to Sheba now. So
Yeah,
tell us
go
that
back to
story.
Sheba. So Sheba's story is that she was wrongfully convicted for a
Mhm.
crime, and they got all that erased. Well, didn't get it later, but she still did not have her rights back. But she worked really hard. This is how No Left Turns was born.
Right,
And, she got rights back for other members of her family. And when she tells the story about it and how it happens, you sort of you sort of understand why it happens and
right.
why they don't want us to have our rights. But Kimba was the one who told the story, and I'm not gonna be able to tell you all the details of the story, but it was a legislator back in 1904
Oh,
in
boy.
Virginia. Yeah, in Virginia, who was writing legislation about this so that returning felons could not get their rights back. And he actually says it, and I had to Google it when she said it because I thought no one really would say that. But what he actually said was, "I'm doing all that I can so that darkies can't vote."
Yeah.
And this
Okay.
is a way that you actually suppress votes for Black people.
Yes.
And so
No,
this is really, really important. And I think when people understand the story and the history behind it, then they really have to take seriously the fact that, yeah,
well,
my rights were taken, and it was taken purposefully based
it
on
can't yeah.
legislation and how important it is to get it back.
And I think what we've seen with under Governor Youngkin when, we had other governors, Republican governor, Bob McDowell, what's his name? Bob
McDonald.
McDonald. He was fine about restoration of rights. And then, it was really moving to see him come when Don Scott got on the floor as the first Black speaker. And then, but we saw Youngkin pull that back because they are again going back to saying we need to suppress this vote. We understand that the thousands of voters, and when you hear these Republicans argue on the floor in Virginia why they're voting against the uh, the amendment to restore rights, you go, "Come on now,
Well,
your hood is on." Like
yeah,
please. I
but,
want to go back with Andrew. Go ahead.
I'll just say this, remember that
Yes,
for Republicans, especially, it really is about the margins. So wherever they can rip
yeah,
pieces of, because remember, elections aren't usually won by big numbers. It's on the margins. So wherever you can
yes,
pull off the margins, that is what
that
their
is so
strategy
important.
has always been.
And I'll say today, when I was thinking about, we talk about the margins, pay attention to Stephen Miller and this fraud thing with Vance. And what they're trying to do is present that there's this fraud and they're talking about kids eat SNAP benefits. But what they want is the data and the states. So when we want to pay attention to what their message is, we got to make people aware why they're talking about fraud, why they're using the SAVE Act is basically to get at data, to use it to trace down immigrants, to deport people, to put people in jail. And when I saw Stephen Miller talking about that, like we need to put people more in jail. We need to prosecute people for taking SNAP benefits. They're freaking serious about going after us. So I think it's really big when you start connecting how they want to use everything. But let's go back to Andrea real quick so people know that if you're around on Saturday, you need to come out and be with us in your PJs. If you're an unreasonable woman or you're somewhat reasonable, sometimes you can join us that night. I think that when Fennell was so tickled and we both started just getting so happy when we were talking to Andrea, I thought, we're going to ask Rachel Bittekoffer. We're going to ask Michelle Hornish. We're going to ask people there. If you're unreasonable, join us. Come on out Saturday. Bring your girlfriends. Get into your PJs with us. It's only 8 o'clock. Doors will open. We're going to have, the whole day of master classes. But at night, we are just going to laugh and fight and laugh and fight and laugh. What I mean fight is we're going to talk about how we're going to fight back. And April Turner from Higher Heights for America is going to be at the summit. And I'm excited to meet her. And oh my gosh, Michaela Venerable is coming. She is a candidate we just love. She is a rural organizer and just an upcoming leader that I think will just makes me so happy when I see her speak. Kate Powell, she's going to talk about advocacy and being a menace and why being a menace is okay when we're organizing about when we really want what we want, we have to make our voice heard. And we'll talk about in Virginia, Han Jones from the campaign, Virginia's for Reproductive Freedom. And that's a big deal. It's another part of the amendment. Do you want to say anything about we have 3 amendments on the
Yeah.
ballot?
Yeah, we have 3 amendments on the ballot, and I'll save it, but part of the
Yeah.
master classes will have, our think tanks, and part of it will be about how do
One
we
of them
talk
is gonna
about
be
all of these amendments together to make it
right.
really important and exciting
Right.
for people to understand how all 3 of them work together. Because to me, it's really just about freedom.
It is, and Alyssa Fetter is awesome. She started when we did. She's Rising Organizers Action. She's in DC, and, she's trained over 5,000 organizers since I've known her, and, really, the power of organizing is people power. And then we have Jessica Berg. Oh my God, she's so great. Folks, she's been testifying in front of Congress because these MFers have been pulling her and other teachers and people like Parissa Tafty, our Commonwealth attorney, in front of their gulag. Um, you know, but they're just sort of making like people like Fauci, people like the Commonwealth attorney Parissa, people like Jessica Berg, a teacher, testify to take away their rights and our rights. So, I just want people to be aware that our program is going to be amazing. Julie Jakopic, I lead strategy, a friend since 17, and will be there to celebrate with us. The lieutenant governor, we love her, right?
Yeah, we do, we really do, and, we really have to work to get her everywhere. I'm so excited. She's actually doing this tour where she goes to community colleges, and they actually will actually use books and stories to talk about the issues in the
She's a
communities,
writer. She's
which
a
is how cool is
poet.
that? Yeah.
She's a poet. I love it. This is really interesting to me. Emily White from Brooklyn. I came across Emily. She uses data, but it's how she uses it to really get to people and what she looks at what they like and then builds things around what they like to get them to come and then get them activated. And I'm real excited for the conversation with Tom Barnier from Target Smart and Emily White, and then we'll have Kate Powell in that conversation too. But what's great about this is she said you can use her data for anything. You can find out what people read or what they listen to, what they like to eat. And then when talking about like these Black voters you're talking about, why can't we use some of that data that we can find out in Virginia where voters are, build something that interests them, and then they get more engaged because we've invited them to something that they enjoy, right?
Right.
Uh, yes. So that's how we have to think creatively.
I absolutely agree. Same thing for women.
Yeah.
We're missing a nugget somewhere, but we
We
gotta
got it.
find it, and we have
We
a
gotta
little
get
while
it.
to find it.
Yeah, Run for Something will be with us. There's Parissa Tafty. She's a Commonwealth attorney, and, she has been fighting the right way for justice. I just love her. And Haley Krim is CJ Krim's daughter.
Yes.
And
Which
CJ
is
Krim, a Resistorhood. And CJ, she's going to tell us a little bit about climate, and we need to talk about that. Oh, Atima Omara is going to be there about her book, The Instigators. She's having a invitation only salon. I love that. And plus she'll be there to sign books and be with our candidates. Josh Cole is going to be opening up a stage. We have Action doing a voting protection voting workshop. And of course, Leah Prada, the immigration hub. She will be talking about one of the most important issues beside another issue. We tried climate, data centers, immigration, our restoration of rights. I can't say enough. Phyllis will be helping us in the morning, Phyllis Randall, and Robert Hubble. There's your master class, another master class.
There is my other master class, which is, um, oh my goodness, turning crisis into
Yes,
opportunity, which
right.
I always wanna call it "Never let a crisis go to waste," but it really is called turning crisis into opportunity, and Robert Hubble, we never say this all the time, but he is an attorney, actually, as well. But he also does this Today's Edition newsletter, which he started in 2017
Yes,
after Trump was elected, because his daughters,
right.
like the rest of us, was probably going
Oh
into
my
crisis
gosh.
mode. And
It's
this
such a
thing is
great
now,
story.
yeah, it's a great story, and he started writing this paper for them, this newsletter for them every day, so that they would understand what was happening and really understand that there is a way out of this. And now everybody reads it. And so
Yes,
we all have an opportunity to understand what is happening, crises that we have in our own lives, but the crisis that we deal with every single day. How do we turn those things into opportunity? Companies have been doing it
yes,
forever, and we have an opportunity to
we
do it
have
in
it too.
politics too.
Now I'm really interested, Denver read The Breach. He's bringing hundreds of books to give out and also have people sign. He will sign the books, but I watch Denver a lot because of the inside he has about Ukraine, all that. I think we have to pay attention to international politics going on and then internally stuff we can't see. The stuff we can't see is really important to that's the scary part, and that's what he deals with. And The Breach is all about the January 6th and the data and the phone calls and the connections he made. It's pretty intense. Michelle Hornish. I
So another masterclass, and even though we're just showing this in the order of them, the master classes will all be held on Saturday. They'll be held back to back after breaks. Every
Right,
single person will get to attend all three of the master classes. And Michelle is doing the power of momentum, which is really going to be incredible. I love hearing her talk about this, tell the stories about this, but the whole idea that no matter how big or small the
right.
thing is you do, it can go really far. And when she's done with this, just like Robert Hubble and Rachel Bidikofer, it is a place that you're supposed to walk out transformed. It
It's
is a place
amazing.
that you're supposed to open yourself up to be able to learn some new things, see your power, and be able to use it to deliver for 2026.
I'm laughing. I saw the Silver Sasses will be there singing, and that will be so much fun. That's Dare Calhoun's group, Holly Hazard, Cheryl Brinkley, going to entertain us. There she is. There's the big boss. We'll end on the big boss because that's a great way to end. And I'm so excited, and we really wanted to go through that. Sorry if it sort of tired people out, but we are so proud of what we built. This is a sort of a building a symphony. I always tell people programming is like building this different parts and sounds and pieces until you feel it, and then I hope people come to experience it. It is amazing. So we can hopefully use this piece to market. If you're listening, please get this out. We just literally do this. We don't get paid. I don't say we're volunteers because this is our work. This is our organization. This is what we built, and we do this really to save democracy and because we love each other, right? I mean, we care about each other, and when you're in this work, you start doing it for each other and your family.
Yeah, I wanted to take, 60 seconds. I told my family downstairs, I was like, "Catherine has so much work to do. We're only gonna be 30 minutes tonight."
Yeah, we're
So we're already
38, so we're good though.
so
We're gonna
so
end
we're
it.
we're already at 38. But I wanted to say this, and I'll have an opportunity to say it next week too, in
Mhm.
terms of the master classes, which is something different. We've never, ever done this before, but we thought it was really important for people to come out with the North Star. And we thought it was really important that we give the tools that we always talk about that's important for strategy. And these three classes are gonna offer that. You have to walk in understanding that you have real power, and you have to really be able to put that power into play, and that's what this will do. If you think about never let a crisis go to waste, um, think about that. Think about how often things are happening that you feel like we have no control over. But working together as a team, as a grassroots that we do have the power to change that. And when you think about the power of momentum, another opportunity for us. And when you think about, this unexpected, another surprise. But I wanted to say in terms of, the underdogs, the David and Goliath, how I was thinking about this. I was talking to Todd last night, and you know what he said? He said, Ukraine is David. And I loved hearing him say that because that's what this whole masterclass idea is about, that we are the underdogs. We are the David. This whole administration that we're fighting against is Goliath. But we know David won, and there are lots of underdogs. There are lots of misfits. There are lots of people who have all kinds of things, but they end up winning. And if we use our power, that is what we plan to do, and that is what we plan to hopefully give everybody the power to do when they leave this summit. So that's what the
I love
masterclass is
that
all
because
about.
when we love doing the Friday Power Lunch, in fact, on Friday, Atima's going to be there, the author of Instigators. But before she was that, she was a political consultant. She had her own company and she's pretty insightful about, politics. And she's been involved for many, many, many years. So that's cool. And we also have, in Ohio, I told you there's a lot of opportunity to win. We're hoping David Pepper and Amy Acton join us. I'm going to find out. But if they do, that's exciting because we have a grassroots leader, Josh Kapowitz, who is getting together canvassers to drive in caravan to Ohio to knock doors for Amy and David. So a lot of Ohioans, a lot of Buckeyes like me will be going to Ohio to go help over there. So I'm excited about that. And, at the summit, we are definitely going to have all the candidates there. They're excited to join us because they want to get into power. They understand how powerful it is when we work together. So I am excited to see you, friend, and get this going because we have a lot of work to do. We have 2 weeks left, but it's kind of every day for us. We just know that, oh, I'm
Yeah.
in Ohio. Somebody said, yeah, doesn't everybody nice is from Ohio, just so you know.
I just had my neighbors just moved to
Except for
Ohio, and
Jim
they're
Jordan.
wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful
right.
people, and they just moved to Ohio. But I wanted to say this.
Yes.
Joyce McClure just wrote an article in Substack, and basically what she said is that these candidates, 435 people, are up for a job interview. And I wrote back
Oh,
and said, and we should fire every single Republican. And if you actually look at what they've done, look at the kinds of
yes.
legislation that they have put forth, the SAVE Act, the big, beautiful bill. If people look deep inside of this stuff, there is no way you would hire these people to take care of you. There is no way that you would hire these people to look after your best interests. And so we have to tell these stories. And if we tell the stories that is
Right.
the truth about who these Republicans are, they all should be fired,
They
every
should
single
all
one of
be
them.
fired.
They should all be
Yes.
fired.
Yes, and that's why you see them running to find these other things to trigger people from the COVID with Fauci, going back to I don't know how you cover up the economy, and that's the best thing is people now can really see things, and they're saying it out loud. They ran out of missiles. I mean, so my only thought is where we have to pay attention, and I love when we started talking about voter protection, that we're doing things to make sure that if they do come and take the ballots, we have a plan. We have to look at it. We got to have a plan. Okay.
We gotta have a
And
plan.
we got to know what to do right away and how we're going to fight this because by every account, they are going to lose. So they are going to try to pass the SAVE Act. And I would say what I really hate, and I'll end on this, is that we go through this thing every day where we think there's going to be somebody with a backbone. Somebody said Cassidy is really going to do it this time, right? And remember John McCain? John
Mhm.
McCain walked up and said no. He voted down so we would have health care. And we waited for that moment. Did anybody have courage? Do Republicans ever let us down? No. They have lost their minds and their integrity. And I think because they all think that that they're gonna either that or they've been threatened to go to jail or something must be pretty threatening to them to do what they're doing. Because they sold the country out with this latest thing, putting Top Blanche in there. So it shows me how serious they are. And when people in our party keep saying that they're going to work with Republicans, so they're waiting for that Republican. If Schumer says something like, again, I'm just going to take his little nose, I'm going to pull it and tickle it. I'd be like, come on and take your cheeks like the priest used to do to me. That's why I quit Catholicism. I was like, my cheeks hurt too much. I just would pinch you and pull you. But I'm saying, really? Really?
So
You're gonna
so
tell me again that we're waiting for Republicans to do the right thing? They
we
showed they won't.
they but listen, so
But
here's the thing. Um, they really are the minority. And
I know they are.
so we wanna vote every one of them out, but some of the folks who voted for them are not feeling it right now.
Right.
And we see it every single day. Those are the people that we have to talk to. And those are the people who we have to talk to who are our family, our friends, who are in our community. And you guys, all of you here,
Yes.
are those trusted messengers. And
Yes.
so we'll talk more about my pause for 60 seconds because that is a real opportunity for us to become the ones amplifying the voices that are good, that make good sense. And to some
Good.
of the folks that we think may not listen, we might be surprised when we come at them with a different way from our hearts and our minds, love one to love one to help them see what's going on. Because remember today, Catherine, we didn't know nothing about nothing, but we know something now.
We
So
know
we
something
have to
about
be the same
something.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like I said, no one's gonna save us, has to be us, and really it's always that Lucy moment when the ball gets stolen and people are like, "Oh, I hear these pundits, 'Oh, they really thought Cassidy.'" I'm like, "Why would you ever think it is really we have to fight in a different way." So we're glad everybody joined tonight. Go to our, website, look at Network Nova, get your ticket, use the Big 10 in the promo code for 10% off, and, we
if
spent
you can't come, send somebody else.
yeah,
Pay for
oh, yeah.
somebody else.
It's gonna be great, and then also we'll see you Friday, and we'll see you during the week. What I was thinking is that, Kent, maybe you can help us make this happen. I wanna do a live with, maybe Lauren Burke and maybe Andrea. We can go live with Andrea Chalupa this week, not wait till next Sunday, but go live so we can get her people and all these people on Substack to find out about the summit. So I was thinking maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, we do a live with some of the people like Rachel Bidicoffer, and we just do a live for 30 minutes. We invite all of our people, Michelle Cornish, everybody, and all the followers come in. They get to know about the summit and they'll buy tickets. How about that? What do you think,
Yeah.
Kent? Help us. Okay, everybody. Bye, Pinellas people. Bye, family. Bye. I hope everybody's good. Love you all. Bye, friends. See you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.